Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife video for you. Today we have what I hope is going to be kind of a fun one. I've done these previously in different price brackets. I did one for $500, one for $250. This is 5 knives. You can only have 5, and you have a budget that you can spend. This one, I'm making it a bit different. It's 5 knives for $1,000, which sounds really easy, but I'm going to throw in a little loophole to make it a bit more difficult. A little stumbling block, if you will. You have to spend at least 900. So between 900 and 1,000, 5 knives, and only five between 900 and $1,000. You have to nail that price point. I got pretty darn close with mine. But this is an open tag video. Anybody can do it. I'm going to tag 2 people, but anybody can do it, and I'll make a little playlist, all that stuff. I'm going to tag Metal Complex, because he's the only dude on YouTube that I think probably makes even more videos than I do. So he's probably going to do it, because apparently he has even less of a life than me. So Metal Complex, I'm tagging you. I'd like to see what you have. Daddy-O EDC, I'm also tagging that because he's the hot kid in school right now. He won the Nick Shabazz Best New YouTuber thing, and he's great, and you guys should go check him out. So check out those 2 channels, and I'm tagging them in it. I'll link them down below. But yeah, I chose to try and fill specific blocks, like things that I want, but you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to own all the knives. I happen to have all of them here, so I can I can show them. But you can just show pictures and stuff and talk about them if you want, if it's something that you don't have or something that you want to get, whatever. But any other guys with YouTube channels want to make this video, if you do it, let me know, and I'll put the link up. I don't want to make this intro too long, but I do have to point out, yes, I do have a giant gash in my hand. I think I mentioned in another video, but I don't think it's up yet. This is not a knife wound. I'm not that bad with knives. Now, these 2 little ones, those were from knives. But this was from my cat. Not the cool gray cat you've seen in some of my videos. He's awesome. He would never hurt me. But no, the little black and white tuxedo cat, she can be pretty nasty sometimes, and she's the sweetest little girl in the world until she decides to rip your hand off. But she's a kitten still. She's only a year old. It happens. But this is not a knife wound. All right, let's get going. First category I want to fill. I'm kind of into bigger knives now, and that's kind of a thing that's happened as this channel has gone along, as my taste in knives has gotten bigger and bigger and heavier and heavier. I used to like smaller, lightweight stuff. I'm kind of getting into the bigger stuff. I gotta have a bruiser. I gotta have a big, cool bruiser. And definitely, this is a fairly new knife in the collection, but one that I would definitely choose, probably even if I redid this video in a year's time. The Chaves Ultramar 229. Riot-made knife, beautifully made, beautifully designed. One that you guys encouraged me to try out at Chaves. I went to Blade Show. I bought this there. At the time of this recording, they are still not available on websites, but they will be. It is going to be a production model. It's just they released a few at Blade Show, and now Riot's producing them, and you can get them. I think you can get some customized versions from a couple of different websites, but it's going to be a little while before you can just regularly go buy one like this. They're not going to come with the inlays. They are just going to be the titanium like this. I saw Ramon Chaves, super awesome dude, by the way, said that that there's no plans to do them with the inlays. We'll see if that changes or not. Not only is it a big bruiser, it's also extremely useful in that it's very thin behind the edge. Fantastically ground blade. This is the full satin version that costs $375. The full, hand rub satin version that costs $375. There's also just a regular satin that costs $350. They're both equally pretty, I guess, but I would still choose the hand rubbed. I don't know. I just like it just that much better. I like it $25 better, apparently, because that's what I paid for it. But very useful blade, very slicey, very sharp, very well built, and it gets double bruiser credit because not only is it kind of a big bruiser knife, it also has a big skull on the clip. I have to do that every time I show that clip. But I hated that at first. That's why I never bought a Chaves, was because of the clip. I didn't like that. But you know what? I'm kind of getting used to it. It doesn't bother me as much anymore, but it is kind of a love it or hate it sort of thing. I say it's love it or hate it, but I'm neutral, I guess is the way I would put it. But yeah, the clip's a thing, but other than that, awesome knife. Fairly heavy, over 6 ounces, but you know, one big bruiser in the collection, gotta be this. Next up, for my just EDC, what I would carry the most. Again, this is also a fairly new thing to the collection, so there may be a honeymoon period with these first two. The rest, not so much. But I will say for my EDC, currently I could not fathom not having it. It would be the TRM Atom, the Three Rivers Manufacturing Atom. This one happens to be the carbon scales, excuse me. This one happens to be the carbon fiber scales. That's what I would get again, $210. Yes, they are a bit difficult to get a hold of. They're working on that. They're going to get easier and easier. There's a waiting list now on their website that you can go and check out. It came up. Actually, I'm broadcasting this in the future. So according to you guys, it came up yesterday on their site. So go check that out at threeriversmfg.com, I do believe it is. Go check that out. You can get on a waiting list for this and the Neutron. This is, a lot of people just say this is a bigger version of the Neutron. If you watch my review, which will be linked in the description, it's not. It's much better than that. It's got the embedded liners, or the recessed liners and the thicker scales. I just love this thing. Super light, super easy to carry, slides in the pocket super easy. I would get the carbon again and again and again, but there's also G10 and micarta options if you want. Just a great knife, awesome blade, 20 CV steel, and 210. It's not inexpensive, but it is not crazy for a mid-techy, whatever you want to call it, kind of knife. Just great. And if you don't like the scales, you can just buy new ones and swap them out in 2 seconds without even taking the pivot off, which is pretty darn cool. And they're very reasonably priced on the scales. Next up, I would say is a knife that, so I think I've mentioned on this channel probably way too many times, I am a professional comedian is one of my other jobs. I'm out at clubs and stuff a lot. I'm weird. I don't like to leave the house without a knife. I never carry one where I'm not allowed to. But when I'm allowed to, I just want to have one in my pocket, and I want something very discreet, something no one will notice. And one that has become a favorite in that category for me, a gentleman's carry, if you will, but even more discreet than that, I think, is the Quiet Carry IQ. This is the LMAX version with the stone-washed titanium scales. I'm not sure I've shown this on the channel before, maybe in a live video or two. I have not done a review of it yet. I will be, though. But just a great knife. Awesome to carry, just as the name would indicate. Look at that pocket clip. Yeah, you don't see it. There's nothing sticking out there. Very small clip. People probably think it's a pen or something. Like it's super, super discreet. A quiet carry. And the action on it's really good. Running on bearings. Very snappy. It's the only knife I have with LMAX steel, so if nothing else, I keep it just because it has LMAX, but even beyond that, great sharpening choil. Pretty slicey. Not the best thing in the world. It's not the thinnest behind the edge. I don't remember what it is, but it's not super thin behind the edge, but it's okay. Nice sheep's footy blade shape, though. It's also a great blade shape for kind of a gentleman's, like, a lot of gentlemen's carry knives have very pointy, stabby blades. This is a very unintimidating blade shape. No one's really freaked out by this thing at all, but it's an awesome knife, and it's surprisingly really good ergonomically. You wouldn't think so looking at that very squarish handle shape, but it's actually pretty good. Really loving this thing. It's rocketing up my list of some of the favorite knives that I own lately. Next up, something fidgety. What would I want just for something to sit and fiddle with when I'm stuck in traffic in the car? And I know maybe that's not the best thing to do. Maybe a cop's going to see and think you're weird, but I do it. Sorry. I don't do it when I'm driving, but if I'm stuck in traffic or whatever, I'll sit and flip a knife a few times. Or if you're just sitting around your house on your couch watching your wife watch ghost shows. Maybe that's just a thing that happens in my house, but my wife watches a lot of ghost shows. But if you're just sitting there flipping stuff around, what would you want? I went back and forth because I have a lot of knives that are really fun to fidget with. But still one of my favorites is just a Spyderco compression lock. And if I'm going to own a Spyderco compression lock, it's going to be the Caparo. I love the Caparo. It's a great freaking knife. I went back and forth with, some PM2 models or something like that. But no, I think the Caparo is my favorite knife they make currently. And it's just a very fun knife to handle. I almost picked a Native 5. I'm sorry, a Sage 5, but it didn't fit the monetary things. I needed something a bit more expensive to make the numbers work because of my own stupid rules I put on myself. So I picked the Caparo. And this also could double as one of my favorite EDCs. So it would be filling 2 rolls in my theoretical 5-knife collection. Ergos are great. It was designed as a food prep kind of knife, and it works great for that. It's one of my favorite kind of steak knives. It's super comfortable, nice deep carry clip, and again, the compression lock. Mine is very well broken in. I have had some people comment that theirs have not broken in this well, but this has been pretty much like this since the day I got it. A very fun knife to handle. You can Spidey flick it, you can thumb flick it, all those cool things. You can slow roll it if you want to be a boring person. But the Caparo is just a fantastic knife, and I would be very upset not to have one around. $188.50 for that. Lastly, we have you gotta have something more traditional, even if the quiet carry is not quiet enough for you, but you still want to have a blade on you. You can't go wrong with a Swiss Army knife, and I've chosen the Cadet A-Lox. That's my favorite Swiss Army knife. This one happens to be a special edition 2018 ruby red one, but I think they just do the ruby red now. I'm not really sure, but I know it was a special edition color for 2018. But any A-Lox, $31.99. I like the Cadet the best. It's very slim, it's very thin, it's very easy to carry. I don't like stuff sitting in the bottom of my pockets. It kind of drives me nuts, but this one is all right because it's so slim. You have your main blade. You have the I use this a lot. I don't use the nail file side of this, but unfortunately, being a YouTuber you are kind of an amateur hand model, so I try and keep gunk out of my nails, so I use that tip a lot for that. You also have, let's close the blade up so I don't cut myself again, so I don't recreate this giant cat gash on my hand. You've got your flathead and the bottle opener, which I use a fair bit because I don't know if you guys have noticed, I knock a few back every now and then. And smaller flathead with a can opener. It's just a super useful thing to have. The only thing I don't like about it, that I don't use this keyring tab, so it's just kind of a sharp thing, when I have the blade out. It's kind of a sharp thing hitting my hand. I should just bust out my Dremel and get rid of that stupid thing. But other than that, it's a fantastic knife. I like the A-Lox finish. It's just grippier and it just looks nicer, and it looks a bit classier than the normal plastic finish. So that's it. That's my 5. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Again, I'm just tagging Metal Complex and Daddy-O EDC. Get off your butts and get it done. And anybody else who wants to do this, just let me know, and I will add it to the playlist. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.